CEO Ronald Hickler from Create the Difference. We have the brand new Hammer Pearl urethane ball. This ball is 78 hardness. So we're going to throw it down the lane. We're going to throw some other balls down the lane. We're going to have two different styles of players throw this ball down the lane. And that way you're going to be able to make a decision in terms of what this ball does, how it will work best for you, and when you should use this bowling ball. Stay tuned. So let's just take a look at the hardness of the 78 black Hammer Pearl. And that definitely is 78. We'll do a couple spots. 78. And guess what? 78. Just for comparison really quick, I'm going to show you something. I've got a bowling ball. This is an ultra angle. This ball is super old. You'll have to go do a little Googling to find out how old this ball is. But just to show you a difference, that's 78 and a half. Just to show you really quick. So this is kind of where all the old balls were too, right? So 78, 78. So this old ball is about where the balls used to be. And then last but not least, I got Mean Greenie here. Just want to show you really quick what this ball is, just for comparison's sake. Real quick, one punch. And it's 45. So this ball is obviously a lot softer than the other bowling balls, but that gives you a little comparison, and now you know why it's called 78. So one of the things we want to do is actually check the surface scan of these bowling balls. I'm going to go ahead and take the hammer ball now. We're just going to go ahead and scan it really fast and then show you exactly that this ball is scanning right at 500 grit, which is exactly what it says it's going to be from the factory. So that means we're going to get a pretty aggressive surface here. So we're going to be able to throw this ball, see what it does, see how it rolls, and be able to show you not only the performance from the left side, but also from the right side. Stay tuned. Now, here's the thing with urethane. The first shot is going to hook like an enormous amount. But once we get a couple of shots on it, typically about 2 or 3, it'll tame down and it'll be back to how it's actually going to be the rest of the way. So we'll just go ahead and see. We'll give it a little bit of room to account for that hook this first shot and see what happens. I'm telling you, if it rolled like that every shot, this would be a really interesting urethane ball, maybe even purplish-like, but it's not going to stay like that. And we're bowling on a shorter pattern here too. You can see a very tight flare, very, very tight flare. That's that LED core. That's what we should expect to see. So now I'll be able to make the appropriate move, be able to get lined up, and you'll be able to see the performance of this bowling ball. That's the way urethanes roll too. Let's get over here in that big dot range. Okay, better, much better shot. Definitely, I can see that there's going to be some urethane-ish shape, which is more smooth, more controlled. Good for tournament patterns, sport patterns, that kind of stuff. I tell you, the harder you make the ball, the straighter the ball is. That's just how it works. So the fact that this ball is harder than the purple would just by nature say that we're going to see a performance difference between the two bowling balls. All right, let's check it out, see what it does. So one thing to note about urethane balls that you may find useful, speed control matters a lot. So in order for me to get the shape that I'm looking for, I've got to back the speed down a little bit. Now here's the other thing. That's one thing that your tour player that you like is really, really good at, that amateur players typically aren't as good at doing, controlling their speed. So I've dropped my speed 1 mile an hour, but you can see there's some shape there. There definitely is some shape with this ball now. And that's what you've got to have to really be able to kick that corner out. If you're also looking, watch where the ball goes through the pins, because it's going to be more prone to go over the 8 pin for me than the splitting the 8-9. Whoa, whoa, be careful. Be careful. Black Pearl Urethane. It is 78 hardness. But you can still get all 10 down. That's pretty good. And you can see like the pin action that I'm getting, right? Like it's definitely not like the super aggressive through the pins strong, but it's predictable and it's consistent. And those two things matter too. Definitely like, it's gonna have a place, but it's gonna be, I would say, more limited than say a purple hammer. It's just gonna be a little more limited. When it works, the other balls won't work, for sure. Straighter angles to the front are going to be one of the keys with urethane, especially as it's harder. But you can see, I mean, you can make it strike. Keep wiping that ball off. You do not need to have any excess oil on your ball at all. So that's going to be the key to making this ball into your bag. Straighter angles to the front, being able to make sure that you're aware of the pattern that you're bowling on. If you're throwing a reactive ball, this ball probably isn't going to work well for you. If you're throwing this ball, the reactive ball probably isn't going to work best for you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change balls. We're going to grab the not urethane hammer ball because that's the ball that everybody wants to kind of compare it to, right? They want to see how does the not urethane ball, which is code for reactive, roll like the new Pearl urethane ball. I mean, so from a performance side of things, there's a big gap there, right? One's flush, one's Brooklyn. That's actually going to be good for players that can use both balls because what that's going to tell you is look at the flare. A lot more flare potential here. And this ball being that not urethane, aka reactive, it won't lose that a whole bunch of performance from shot to shot like the urethane does. Same shot, same reaction. So now I'll have to make an adjustment to get that into the pocket. But there's definitely some difference between these two bowling balls. So all the balls in this video are drilled the exact same. It's 60 by 4.5 by 30. We are now going to make a move and go from Brooklyn to the pocket. So you can see, definitely a different shape, completely different shape. More angle, more down lane, a different shape. Or as I like to call it, the reactive shape. But this ball obviously is not as strong as the rest of their product line. So it really just gives them some more performance options is what it does. So you can see there's a big difference between the two. And here's the other thing, right? So with the reactive ball, I have to create angle to the front. It's got to go this way. If I try to go this way, as you saw, it doesn't work. Also, because I know it's going to come back, I can increase the speed just a little bit. All right. So now we're going to change gears and we will throw the Storm U78 ball. Same thing, remember that first shot's gonna hook, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and move back left because I know it's gonna hook more than it should. I'm telling you, man, if it rolled like that every time, we'd be in business, but gonna pick up some oil, gonna lose some performance. That's just what happens, man. If you, like I said, if you go back and look, all the old school balls were this 78 hardness. You can see here the flare. A lot of flare on this ball. Got that IQ core in it. You can see the two shots. About 2 more boards in, ball still struck. So that, I mean, that's just kind of what you would expect. A little bit of performance loss there. Now it'll kind of maintain that moving forward, which is good because that ends up becoming useful. Come on, yes. Yeah, so you can kind of see the difference. I'll throw the 78 hammer ball now, one more time in that exact same spot. I just want you to be able to see an overlap between those two shots because that's what everybody wants to know. Two good shots back to back. You can kind of see the performance is really close, which is what you would expect from a bowling ball that is urethane and hard and made to be played more to the front part of the lane this way. Best for shorter patterns, higher rev rates, good people have a lot of good speed control. I dropped the speed about 1 mile an hour, like I told you. But I think this ball is going to have a place in a tournament arsenal. If you're a tournament player, this ball will have a place for you because when it works, the other balls won't work at all. That ball is good because it does that. Double cross. That's that whole first shot thing. See what I mean? Pitch black. So now you've been able to see the performance of these bowling balls. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make your urethane pro ball super usable for the average consumer. Stay tuned. So one of the things people don't really think about is like how important that surface is. And we told you this ball was 500 to begin with, and you saw the performance. But really what you can do to get this ball to be more usable, and this is something that you're not going to see very often, but we know just from history and data and actually having some of the original bowling balls that were this 78 type hardness is getting some resurfacing pads. So what I'm going to do, the resurfacing pads actually come in 3 different grits. They come in 240 grit, they come in 120 grit, and they come in 80 grit. What I'm actually going to do, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I'm actually going to grab this 120 grit and I'm going to put that on here. And the reason why is because the 120 grit is going to put some lines in the ball that are obviously more aggressive, but not only that, it's going to allow me to be able to get a readable early performance without it over pushing, because the over pushing is the problem. So we're going to spray some of this True Cut conditioner on this pad, which you're going to need to do. And we are going to create some bowling ball slurry. Now the best part of the True Cut pads is that you only got to go one pass, and that will be just enough to get this ball where we want it. We'll flip the ball over. Now some of you guys that are older will remember bowling balls being sanded with super aggressive grits. They don't do that anymore. The manufacturers don't really need to, but when you start getting hard and harder urethane balls, this becomes a little trick. It's really important to keep the ball, keep the pad moist too there, which is why we're using that True Cut conditioner to help with that. All right. we will do 4 sides. Now it's gonna look ugly. Just be aware. It's gonna look definitely different than what you're used to seeing, but the performance will be way, 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 way more usable. All right, let's go back out to the lanes. So this is what I was talking about. So like these are actually 80s hammers, and you can see how much aggressive these cover stocks are on this ball. And that's just with the grit that they were using back then. And you can see now why I decided to put an aggressive grit on this ball to make it more like these bowling balls. And that's going to become important when we get back on the lanes and be able to show you the performance. Stay tuned. Now I know what you're thinking. Ron, why would I ever throw a ball this dull? This is ridiculous. Well, the truth is 80% of you weren't even around in the 80s, so you don't even know that this was the surface that people used back then when they had to use 78 hardness bowling balls. So I'm just going to show you the performance, and it'll make a lot of sense that way. Now remember, the first shot's going to hook too much, but after about 2 or 3 shots, it'll be right where it's supposed to be. Watch this. Yeah, it hooked, but did you could immediately see that there's shape. There's just going to be some normal shape, and it isn't going to be oversensitive to being pushed down the lane too fast. Now, it don't look pretty. She don't look pretty, but it ain't all about how she looks, right? It's about how she rolls. Closer. And this, immediately I can tell, this is going to be much more usable. It won't be as speed sensitive. Your opponents probably aren't going to like this, but you're not doing this for them. You're doing this to give you the best chance to strike. So there's more shape for sure. My ball speed's back up too. So you can see now at least I can use normal ball speed. I'm still getting early, but it's got some shape to it. The best part of this is this surface is going to hold up a whole lot longer. So when you get into the rhythm, you'll be able to use this ball a lot longer. More shape, man. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you you can sand this ball and get away with it, but you can. Watch this. A little bit of room for error, watch. Look, room for error now. Don't have that before. That is why having a super aggressive grit 120 makes this ball usable. So you got to think outside the box a little bit. So here's the good part. The good part is you create area. The bad part is you now make the lane pattern susceptible to blow a hole in the pattern, which will mean your ball will begin to hook a little bit earlier. So you got to watch that too. And remember, with urethane, you're not trying to create lots of angle. You got to make more parallel moves. Go ask your father or your grandfather. They'll tell you about moves. Much straighter, much more parallel, not so much open angles to be able to get that ball to strike. But that's a tip and a trick to be able to get that urethane ball to work for you.